So if I just start talking, do my slides appear? I'll just start talking. So I'm Chris Dwan, and there were 5 of us at what we called the High Performance Computing and Bioinformatics Working Group. And based on our conversation, I think we might be open to renaming that working group. Because none of us could really identify a focus in HPC, which is huge in sequencing, or bioinformatics, which there is clearly a lot of bioinformatics in this project and in these projects, but it didn't attract a lot of conversation. But I think that if I renamed it the data working group, and I don't like the data standards words, it implies a lot of heavy committee work, but we came up with the word Data Switzerland. The idea that Mark actually made the point that since sharing is the afterthought, people who do large meta-analysis and who come after to try to aggregate knowledge end up, well, the word he used was garbage. In terms of the integratable artifact that is the result at the end of a research project. And I feel like with proper conversation in this kind of open setting, we could do really neat work on that front. Let's see. We also had a discussion of ontologies and the idea that as a newcomer to synthetic biology, I heard a lot of words that I didn't know over the past 2 days, and I'm sure that some of them have related meanings to each other that would allow us to integrate data sets, and merely having a place for conversation, this monthly cadence of working group meetings, punctuated by white papers, punctuated by, published minutes and stuff, it might be helpful to start with vocabulary, start with data types and data structures, and it would probably support this community moving faster scientifically over the 5 to 10 year horizon. I'm going to see if I can dig up my slides on this laptop. Yeah, there we go. That, and if there's something to be done to make it live there. All right, so one of the things that I wanted to share as it's humbling to be asked to address a group like this, especially coming in relatively cold from a genome sequencing and a big data background. And so we looked at a lot of former large international collaborations, including the Human Genome Project, the Cancer Moonshot, the Brain Initiative. One of the neat things that I found is that each of the logos represents a major initiative, and each of them had white papers and data standards and working groups and background that we can build on. And I would like to see this group produce, to build another step in that series of artifacts that will help people to work together. Another neat thing that did not exist back when we were starting, say, the Human Genome Project or NIST, actually now has a standard that's in request for comment about identity and access management. And as I ask technologists, people who are the CTOs and the CIOs, what is the thing you wish you had for these big federated projects? A coherent way to deal with the identity of the people who are participants and who are administrators and who are scientists who are requesting access to data sets. A coherent way to deal with authentication as opposed to identity, as opposed to federation. NIST has this. We've got a whole lot of cool tech. I would love to see us just start from a modern platform. As other people have mentioned, I don't know what we will build with that. We would have to have a much more concrete idea before I propose building anything in particular. I would suggest that we build from these strong standards. We talked a lot about consent, and there has been a lot of conversation, particularly in the All of Us project, the Precision Medicine Initiative, around measuring the informedness of those giving their consent and receiving it, around machine-readable structured consents, and around the ability to, without violating the veil of anonymity, revisit and recontact to freshen the consent for further work, or to inform, or to offer the opportunity to opt out and be removed. These are technologically possible if we can, if Apple can do its distributed rights management or digital rights management such that I can watch my TV shows across multiple devices, I'm certain that we could do similarly good technology around consent and access to data. One of the things that we spent a bunch of time talking about was the concept of digital privacy. And the fact, I actually think that saying that you have de-identified a genome because you have removed the name or the patient ID from it is a little disingenuous. It may be legally valid, you know. I think that we need learning systems similar to the things that we see in social media, similar to the things that the retailers have, for adapting to a changing legal and ethical framework without having to recode everything. Again, these are technical possibilities that we should think about as we talk about how we structure the data for this project. And then I'll leave you with a little exhortation that a lot of people talk to me about data platforms. A data platform for research has, all of these nice properties about flexible, collaborative, automated, highly blah, blah, searchable. I spend a lot of time helping people with data hygiene, by which I mean, are the files sensibly named in a consistent way? If you choose to store data in some place, is there a reason for that, or is it just what happened to be available right then? If we duplicate data, we see this all the time in sequencing. If there's a duplicate set, is there a reason, and do we know that it's a duplicate set? Were we to clean up? Could we? I would propose, my exhortation here is that we should focus mostly on data hygiene, honestly, for the first 6 months, year here. We'll have conversations in the working group about what the data formats are, what the data classes are, what the technology readiness levels are, and see where we might go. And I would really consider changing the name away from HPC and bioinformatics, because I think we would have gotten a lot more people at the table if we'd called it something like data. So anyway, that was basically what I walked through. And I would close with the idea that all of us think that technology, data science and data technology in particular, can be a driver of innovation in addition to its traditional supporting role. And so I would be very open to collaborative efforts in this space that emerge directly from technology and using the data, so that, frankly, we get to play a part in this really exciting project. So with that, I take questions or comments from anybody else in the room.
Thank you very much. I share lots of the tentative conclusions from this group, to which I do not belong, but was quite interesting. However, I was wondering, where do you fit computer-aided design of genomes and redesign of natural genomes? As I browsed through the list of items and didn't find anything that was better fitted than this group, but I didn't hear about it from you. Could you comment on computer-aided design of genomes?
Yeah, there were 2 talks. So I knew nothing about the computer-aided design portion before I walked in, and I saw the SBAL language, and I saw the talk today on the graphical and the linguistic framework. I think it's a huge opportunity to, as one speaker said, separate out the intent architecturally from the implementation details. I'm not sure, we could also make a working group entirely on that. It wasn't where we went because none of those people came to the table. I think it's really important, though, if we're going to scale from individual groups and even foundries to a truly international collaboration. It's hard work. It's engineering work. It's more of the building work than the discovery and cataloging work. So it's a different mindset, but I think it's critical. Thank you.